Hello and welcome to Alex Talks. Now, this is a new segment to the Never Caught Aside podcast where I will give you like unbiased views over, particular football matches, football news, transfers, or anything related with the beautiful game. But this episode is dedicated to the Champions League final, which happened last night between PSG and Inter Milan. Let's get to it. So, PSG. Congratulations. Congratulations. We welcome PSG to the Summit of Champions. Now, it's a real select group. There have been many which have won multiple Champions League titles, and there have been teams that have only won it once. And Marseille were the last French team to ever win the competition. I think it was something like 27 years ago or 37 years ago. I don't know. If you know the correct time, please put it in the comments. But PSG done it. They finally pulled it off. And do you think PSG for years have been trying to put together a team to win this competition? They've assembled some of the best talents in the world in order to achieve this one goal of winning the Champions League. Yes, they win the French league mostly every season, hence why people like to regard it the French League On as Farmers League because PSG always win. I don't even know where the term even Farmers League even came from because, farmers are integral to our society. Anyway, so they finally got it over the line. Remember at the time where they were buying sports stars everywhere. They had Neymar, they had Messi playing from some point, and they still couldn't get it over the line. Even when they brought in Mbappe, who was part of this new Galacticos that we're creating. Throughout the years, we've seen amazing players like Ronaldinho, JJ Okocha, Rai play for PSG and not been able to have won the Champions League. And then PSG came into being bought by the Middle East. And since then, they've had millions upon millions poured into the club, and yet they still have not been able to get it over the line. But now, finally, in 2025, they did this, and not with Galacticos, no. They've done this by assembling a young crop of players who are hungry and want the game and play the beautiful game the way it should be played under a tremendous coach, Luis Enrique, who had more than just football riding on this performance. He had a legacy born from being a player himself, but also born out of the memory of his daughter Zana, who sadly passed away at 9 years old. She was there alongside him when he won the Champions League with Barcelona. And now his spirit is alongside him now as he celebrates winning the Champions League for the very first time with PSG. Now, Luis Enrique can now join the elites of managers who have won the competition with not just one club, which, not many have done. And he has guided this team, this unbelievable team, to the final and been able to win the competition. Now, I'm a Liverpool fan. So some will say, yeah, but PSG defeated you guys and stopped you from winning the cup. That's football. You win and you lose. Unfortunately, we lost. But I always have a saying. I will always support the team that knocks my team out of the competition. I remember 2023 when Liverpool played Manchester United in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. They knocked us out and they went on to win it. And even though I am an enemy of Manchester United, I still wanted them to win the FA Cup because they knocked us out. I want to lose to the actual winners of the competition than losing and then that team gets knocked out the very next round. Some may think like that, some may not, but each to their own, I guess. But back to the game. Now, I watched this game. I was out celebrating a friend's birthday, so I had to watch it in this beer garden, and they had, four or five screens, but no sounds. I had to literally watch it in silence, which wasn't too bad because again, sometimes you just don't need comment. You just don't need commentary. You don't need sound to watch football. You just need your eyes, and then everybody's reaction creates the atmosphere. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I really couldn't believe because we have seen PSG come up against Liverpool, come against Aston Villa, come against Arsenal, defeated all of them. So we knew what to expect from PSG. Inter Milan, we weren't too sure. They had been to a final, what was the second final in the last 3 seasons. We knew what they were. They're robust, they're resilient, and they're very strong. Defensively, capable, everything. Attack wise, very sound. They've got the likes of Lautaro Martinez and and Thuram. So we feel like, they can hurt teams, but they can defend well and they do well when they have the ball. Now we're thinking what we're going to expect because we're seeing the previous semi-final between Barcelona and Inter where it was a slugfest, probably one of the best semi-finals we've seen in recent years. Inter Milan were the victorious team, and we felt like they were going to push PSG to the limit, which did not happen. Now, the final, it's hard to, do you know what? There's many words you can use to describe the final. If the final was a boxing match, you could say that for almost 12 rounds, PSG toyed with Inter Milan, had them against the ropes many occasions, knocked him down a few times, but didn't give him that finishing blow. But when the fifth goal went in, that was the final blow, the nail in the coffin. Nobody had even put a bet that PSG were going to actually dismantle Inter Milan. Incredible feat. No team has done what PSG has done to Inter Milan. When watching the final, you saw PSG playing without no fear, entertaining football. They're bopping the ball around the park, and Inter Milan couldn't lay a glove on them. It's like almost they were chasing ghosts. Even when they did get the ball back from maybe winning a foul, PSG within a matter of moments had the ball back in the possession and were passing the ball around again like it was a training match. This did not feel like a final. It almost felt like it was watching the old group stage format of the Champions League where there was always one whipping team in a group of death, whether that would be Maccabi Haifa or Sturm Graz or Young Boys or one of those teams that was going to catch a whooping from one of the big boys. And Inter Milan got a real whooping from PSG. Now you look at it, now if you compare the two teams and you see the ages, PSG, yes, a young team, but they do have some very experienced players there supporting the youngsters who this has been like some of them it's been their first final. Some of them have been played in the competition before, but never dreamt to be meeting the final for the team that they play for. Now that PSG, those dreams, they've lived them. Marquinhos, who's been a good servant for PSG over the last 12 years, alongside him, you had William Pacho, young as well. I think he's only like 22 years old. And then you look at an older head in the midfield, Fabian Ruiz, where I think he's even 30 himself, maybe less, maybe 29. And then you've got Ousmane Dembele, the darling of the team, the figurehead, the talisman, the go-to guy. This guy was almost an outcast at Barcelona, bought in from Borussia Dortmund for a record fee at the time. This guy, twinkle-toed, both-footed, excellent eye for goal, can dribble his way out of any situation. Barcelona brought him in, and it just didn't sit right. It was a natural movement from going from the Bundesliga to Barcelona. It's the kind of it's the kind of transfer that most professional footballers in their youth can dream of. But that dream turned out to be a nightmare for him. There was issues of temperament, his behavior, his work rate, his professionalism, and on the pitch he really didn't deliver. So he left Barcelona and came to PSG to be part of this new PSG, one that isn't full of egos. They're full of players who actually want to play and achieve goals of winning the Champions League. So here we are, PSG, with the likes of João Neves, Vitinha in midfield. These guys literally took apart Inter Milan like a surgeon in the operating theatre. Very intricate passing, very precise. Even the first goal that they scored was precise passing. Inter, I don't really know what to say about them. Looking at their team, a lot of experience. You've got Beretta there, you've got DeMarco, you've got Bastoni, who even at the age of like 23 years old has been playing for a while. Lots of experience and also great experience in Champions League. But the team is aging. Look at Serbi. Serbi's 35 years old. You have Jan Sommer in goal, who's almost a journeyman goalkeeper. You got players there like Mkhitaryan, who some people are like, why has this guy not even retired? Maybe this could be his last season. We never know. But yet, this team was still doing bits in the Champions League, still putting up great results, scoring goals, defending well. And even when it came to the quarterfinals, people were putting Inter in potentially finalists, despite other quarterfinals being there that people might thought they were stronger. Even when it came to semi-finals, people felt like, yo, Lamine Yamal was going to destroy them, and he almost did. But Inter found a way, and maybe they thought they're going to find a way in this Champions League final. Now, coming into this game, both had received different ends to their season. PSG won their league, just like how Liverpool won their league with like 3 games to go, took their foot off the pedal, rested some players. So going into the game, some may thought that maybe they're lacking the competitiveness because they've had taken the foot off the pedal. Maybe Inter could catch them on a bad day and win the Champions League, a feat that they have not achieved since Jose Mourinho. Inter only last week had lost the Serie A on the last day of the season to Napoli when they almost had it in the bag. They were en route for 3 titles: Serie A, Champions League, and the Coppa Italia, and they all slipped out of their fingers at the very last stages. Maybe this is a time for Inter to look at this team and start to rebuild. Where do they go? What do they do? Because now they have suffered losing the league on the last day of the season and then a week later losing Champions League. That is a lot to take in over a space of a week. We'll see what happens. The Saudi League are looking to recruit Simone Inzaghi. He may be off to Al Hilal. There's reports saying that he could make the move. Or will he stay and try and rebuild this team, try and rebuild up confidence, and try and go again and win the Champions League? What is next for PSG? They're finally now European champions. They've finally found a squad that are capable of taking them to the best and greatest heights. This is a team that is very scary. Very, very scary. And we've got to see, they may add more to this impressive team. But when you look at the likes of Desiree Doué, who finally announced herself to the world stage, I am here. I am him. I am Desiree Doué. I don't think PSG are going to miss Mbappe. This is the way forward. Everybody felt that after Mbappe, after Neymar, after Messi, that maybe PSG ain't those guys. But they found a way. They went away at their business. And I look at them now. So next season, the Champions League is going to be very interesting. My boys, Liverpool, we're recruiting. We're bringing some big boys to the table. And hopefully, we'll see PSG again. And hopefully, we'll get some revenge over them. But until then, PSG, enjoy your victory. Enjoy being champions of Europe. Congratulations. You are officially the best team in Europe. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll have another episode of the podcast with the fellas will be dropping. But I'll be doing this segment from time and time again. Watch out for the next one where I'm going to talk about some the next transfers. That could be from your club, it could be from my club, or whoever. Anything that I feel is interesting, I'll keep dropping. Wait, how does this white look against this background? Because it's kind of feel like I'm molded in. Does it go? Anyway, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.